Welcome to Topic 1, Skill 2. In this skill, we are focusing on solving multi-step equations. What I mean by multi-step equations is an equation that takes more than 2 steps to solve. Most often, in a multi-step equation, you are going to see the distributive property, which is shown here by taking the number on the outside and multiplying it through to each part inside the parentheses. You will also see the need to combine like terms in multi-step equations, which is shown here, where we combine terms that have the exact same variable, in this case x, and combine them the way it showed. In this case, it said to subtract, so we're going to take 5 minus 3 and get 2x and bring down the minus 8. So you're going to see those two skills incorporated into our solving equations. The big picture for this skill is when solving complex equations, it is often easier to simplify each side before solving. So focusing on the side that has the most work before you start to balance to solve for x is going to be the best way to solve these equations. So the first example, we are solving for x. 3x minus 6 plus 2x equals 16. I occasionally like to separate the sides of my equal sign just so I can kind of compartmentalize a little bit. What can I simplify over here? Well, my first thought is I'm trying to solve for x and I don't know which x to start with. Am I trying to get this one by itself or am I trying to get this one by itself? Well, the truth is that you actually can't solve for x unless there's only one of them. So what we have to do is we have to combine like terms. This one has an x, this one has an x, so I have to put those together first. 3x plus 2x equals 5x. The minus 6 has nothing to combine, so we're just going to bring that down. And then from here, this is now a two-step equation which we practiced in skill 1, so we can solve for x. Identify your x here. The farthest thing away from that x is the 6. So we're going to do the inverse of minus 6. We will plus 6 on both sides. Those cancel out. We are left with 5x equals negative 16 plus 6 is negative 10. Then to get that x by itself, we have to do one more step. The inverse of multiplying by 5 is dividing by 5 on both sides. These two, because their inverses, cancel out, and we are left with x on this side. After we do this math, negative 10 divided by 5, we're left with negative 2. So I get my answer of x equals negative 2. Example 2, I have negative 2 times the quantity 4h minus 7 equals 38. So in this case, I see that I have some work to do over here and simplify this first. The parentheses indicate that I should probably be doing the distributive property here. The number out in front confirms that. So what I want to do first is distribute that negative 2 to both parts on the inside by multiplying. So negative 2 times 4h is going to be negative 8. The h comes with it. Negative 2 times negative 7. Negative 2 times negative 7 is going to be a positive 14. So through that distributive property, I've simplified a little bit, and now I'm in a position where I can solve this two-step equation. I identify my variable h. The farthest thing away is the 14. The inverse of plus 14 is minus 14. Got to do it to both sides to stay balanced. Those two are going to cancel. I'm left with negative 8h equals 38 minus 14 is going to be 24. Not sure why I changed colors. Then to get h by itself, now I'm only left with doing the inverse. Now be a little bit careful here. What I'm looking is for the operation. So is negative 8 being added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided by the h? Well, in this case, I'm not taking the 8 minus h or the h minus a like shown here. This sign represents that it's a negative 8. So I have to understand that there's a multiply between the negative 8 and the h to do the correct inverse, which is divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 8, and do that to the other side as well. Because I have the opposite operations here, they're going to cancel out, leaving me with just h equals 24 divided by negative 8 is negative 3. H equals negative 3 is my answer. Example 3, I'm not going to read it, you guys can see it. I see that I have a lot of work to do over here. I have multiple t's, but I also have parentheses, so I want to be thinking distributive property. You're normally going to start off with the distributive property first, just like the order of operations, parentheses comes first, so think about that as we go to simplify first. So we got to see what number is on the outside of the parentheses that we're going to distribute. I don't see a number, and if I don't see a number, that means I'm going to insert a 1. So the number that I'm going to distribute is going to be a negative 1. So I'm just going to bring this 3t down right away, and then distribute the negative 1 throughout the parentheses. So negative 1 times 5, t is negative 5t. Negative 1 times negative 10 is going to be a positive 10. So I've done the distributive property, but I see I'm not quite ready to solve yet. I can't jump into my balancing because I still have 2 t's. So I have to combine those like terms by doing what it says, and it tells me to take 3 minus 5. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. The t goes with it. Plus 10 equals negative 6 comes down. Now I see, okay, I have a two-step equation. I have only one t, so now I can jump into solving. The farthest thing away from that t is the plus 10. So the inverse of plus 10 is minus 10. Do it to both sides to stay balanced. That's going to cancel out, leaving me with negative 2t equals negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16. Last step to get t all by itself is to do the inverse of multiplying by negative 2. The inverse of multiplying is to divide by negative 2. Do it to both sides. Because these are inverse operations, multiplying and divide, those negative 2's are going to cancel, leaving us with t equals negative 16 divided by negative 2 is positive 8. Example 4 is kind of like a bonus hard question, so I'm going to go pretty quickly through this. If you need more explanation, call me over individually and I can help you out. I see all the work's going to be over here, and I see that I have multiple variables, so I want to solve for b. I also see that I have parentheses, and so I need to do the distributive property first. 3 times 2 is 6a. 3 times 4 is 12b equals c. Now the variable I want by itself is the b. So what's the farthest thing away from the b? The farthest thing away from the b is going to be the 6a. How do I move that? I'm going to do the opposite of a positive 6a, which is a negative 6a, and do that to both sides. Because these are inverses, they cancel out, and I'm left with 12b equals, and then I see c minus 6a. I can't do that math because they're variables, so I'm just going to leave it c minus 6a. Not quite done because my b is not all by itself yet, so the opposite of multiplying by 12 is dividing by 12. If I can divide by 12, those cancel out, and I can't really simplify this too much more, so I'm just going to leave what I have, c minus 6a divided by 12. And there you have it. Have fun practicing.